Okay, I gotta give the people what they want, and I've really been procrastinating telling this, but here we freaking go. For anyone that is new to this saga, a week before my 18th birthday, I was down in Mexico. I graduated high school early. Home life was not great. Boom, moved to Mexico where I meet this British man on a beach. We have a first kiss in the Caribbean Sea. It's beautiful. Q, 2 weeks later, he leaves to travel South America, and I go back home to my little hometown. We Facebook message. We stay up to date for 6 months. I decide I don't want to go to college because I was never good in school to begin with, so why would I go into debt with that? And also, like 10 years ago, that was not that acceptable. So people looked at me like I was insane for doing that. Best decision ever, though. Always follow your intuition, okay? Okay, so deciding not to go to college, I decide I want to travel the world. I want to like experience life. I get matched with a nanny program in Madrid, like a au pair program. And amongst our little Facebook updates, I let Englishman know that I'm going to be headed to Madrid. He suggests that I stop in London for a few days because there's Ryanair flights that are cheap AF. And so I do. We spend the weekend in the gorgeous, beautiful English countryside, and it's epic. We confirm, no, it was not just a holiday romance. This was actually something very real and special. We spend the next 3 months Skyping, because Skype was the thing back in the day, Skyping every night when we both finished work. He would fly to Madrid once a month, and then I would fly to England. So we saw each other 3 times that summer in person. At the end of my summer stint as an au pair, I spent 10 days in London before I was meant to fly home. The night before I was going to fly home, we're laying in bed and we're looking at each other, and there's this like deep agony and sadness. And he's kind of like, how are you going to spend the rest of your gap year? And I said, actually, I have no idea. And he said, well, you're already in Europe. You're already in London. We are, you're so close to everything. Why don't you just stay? Say less. Say less. I did not get on my flight the next morning. I stayed for a year living in London with this boy, falling in love, going to like German warship day parties, hanging out with 24-year-olds. As an 18-year-old, you feel really cool doing that, like you do. I was trying to be grown. After a year, I overstayed my tourist visa naturally because I was delusional and thought that the rules didn't apply to me, and I was just like blinded by love and did not have a fully developed brain. So I had to leave. Yeah, I left. He looked for jobs in California, but he was way more realistic and smarter than me. And he was like, look, you're going to be in college and I'm going to be working a 9 to 5. Like, you're not going to want me there, And I was like, what do you mean? I was so heartbroken, so heartbroken. We do no contact for 6 years. A lot transpired within that. That's like some personal details, but I'll save that for another story. I spend a year in California. I leave because I partied a little too much. And then I go to New York. I spend 4 years in New York. And as I'm graduating school in New York, I meet a sweet boy. And this is an important part of the story because this is like, I'm a fairy tale girly. So I'm going to include this in the story. It's real. Disclaimer. And kind of sad. I meet this boy the night of my graduation from school. And we're together for a year, and it was the first relationship where I did not think of Englishman, and I felt like I kind of was starting to move on with my adult life. I was 23 at the time when I met him, and it was a super fun relationship. Like, we would do volleyball and sneak into abandoned buildings in Brooklyn and eat nachos on Sundays, and he would like bike to Pinkberry to get me pomegranate pinkberry with mochi on top and force me to watch Rick and Morty, but he let me pop his back pimples as like a little, barter system. So it worked well. June of 2018, we went to Cuba together. We moved in together, all of the big steps. So we're 24 at this point, and we're kind of thinking about like the next steps. He's from Colorado. I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to move to Colorado, yada, yada. A month later, July 4th, 2018, he literally falls off of a roof and dies. And I cannot make this fucking shit up. It sucked. I didn't get out of bed for 3 months. My friends literally had to bring me food physically and feed it to me in bed so that I would eat. I boozed way too much in bed. I would literally be like drinking bottles of wine out of the bed, like out of the bottle from my bed. I was so deep in grief, and some people deal with grief in really healthy ways. I was not one of them, like at all. It rocked me to my freaking core. I would start crying in the middle of like an inappropriate place to cry. I don't know. I had no control over my emotions during this time. A few months after, I was in Europe with actually some of his friends, and we did a little Euro trip together. And it worked out well because my sister was moving to London because she got a Fulbright to UCLA. Shout out. She's a smarty, little golden child. And we met up in Paris to have like a little sister trip 2 days before she was going to be living in another country across the pond for a little while. We are sitting at a cafe in Paris, and you know the one with the little girly? We're sitting at a cafe in Paris, and she just goes, "Do you still talk to British man?" And I was like, no, I actually hadn't even thought of him in like 2 years. That's crazy. So sent him an email because we didn't have each other on any social media. We deleted each other from Facebook, which was the only form of social media at the time, like 10 years ago when we broke up. So I sent him an email and I'm like, "Hey, what's up? I'm going to be in London tomorrow. Would love to grab a coffee." He emails me back and he's like, "Hey, I actually moved to Mexico." Fast forward 9 months and we see each other for the first time in New York after a slew of emails, kind of reconnecting, catching up. And this is important because this is like, it gave me like a glimmer of hope during all of this grief. And it was such a dark period of my life that I was like, okay, the only thing that would make this makes sense to me is if I got back together with my first love, right? Because that's some movie shit. Like, I'm a movie girly, okay? Fairy tale girly. So we see each other for the first time. It's nothing like what I envisioned in my mind. Every time I like showed up in a red dress and I was a movie star. Yeah, it was July of 2019 and I was sweaty as fuck. I'm pretty sure my hair looked like this. It was not cute, but the vibe was there. The vibe was still there 6 years later. So we take that reconnection. We continue talking. After that, 6 months later, he comes back to New York for another work trip. Now we're in February of 2020. This is like 6 months after that trip, right? February 2020, I go down to Mexico and I go and I visit him. And that's the trip that solidifies like, hey, let's maybe try to make this work, okay? I was 26 then, I think. Yeah, 26. And so we're like, okay, we're kind of adulting. Let's see if this works. We all know what happened March of 2020. So then the world shut down. The world had other plans. We didn't see each other for 3 years. And then a few months ago, it's May, and I'm in Mexico City for a business trip. And I message him a picture of this restaurant that we went to. And I'm like, "Hey, just thinking of you. I hope you're doing well." Wake up to a text the next morning, and he's like, "That's crazy. I'm actually in Mexico City. I fly out tonight. Let's meet up for coffee." All the romantic girly sirens are going off, okay? I'm like living my own rom-com at this point. I'm like, oh my God, oh my God. Okay, we reconnect. It's beautiful. We literally like go in a pond, whatever. I won't bore you with the details. Basically, we reconnect and he says, "You should come to London." Hence, like, let's see if this is real again, I guess. So in August, I fly to London, and this is the part that you all have been waiting for. You all meaning like my 6,000 followers. What's up, girls? Hi. I hope this is entertaining. So I fly to London. I will be the first one to tell you I am so disappointed in the ending of this and so surprised because I'm the one that chose it. And I really thought that I was like all in for this romantic saga. But as I was landing and I was in the car from the airport to his place, it was visceral. Like my gut feeling of like, "Kaylee, you just came to close this chapter. Like he has been your sturdy backup, like romantic silver lining of hope throughout all of this. And you don't need that anymore. Like you have yourself now. Like focus on yourself." What? Is that healthy? Oh my God. So I get there and the first night we are having a conversation and I have been on this massive like self-development spiritual journey and we are sitting there having a conversation about all of that stuff. And do you know those ping moments that you're just like, ooh, this isn't going to work. We're not aligned on a core value. I love this human so much, but it's not going to work. So I had that ping the first night. The next day we go out to lunch and we're sitting across the table from each other and he goes, "We should probably talk about some real stuff." And I'm like, "Yeah, we probably should." And he just goes, "Well, let's start with, would you move to London?" Because he just started a job. And I just quickly said, "No." And we look at each other and he's like, "Well, I think that kind of answers that." And I look back and I say, "Yeah." We spent 5 days closing the chapter. remembering like the beautiful times and saying goodbye to each other, honestly.